¿Alguna vez te da miedo enfermarse?
If they do need to see the doctor, it's not just a short 15-minute drive down the street to the nearest doctor's office. They normally have to walk hours and hours and take several buses to reach their destination. Said that they will never forget us because we changed their lives.
Les agradezco mucho.
Thank you so much. 100% of the proceeds will go directly towards purchasing medications and supplies for our upcoming trip to Nicaragua.
How are you?
We're holding a free medical and dental clinic in Nicaragua this summer, and we're wondering if you'd be willing to buy the item on our list. You're welcome.
But I think many Americans are not aware of the horrendous conditions existing all around the third world. But all over Latin America and Central America, you do have hunger, you have malnutrition, you have disease, very, very serious problems. The third world today is facing the most serious crisis it's faced since the Depression, if not ever. And those problems exist in Nicaragua.
So, compared to what it used to be, the healthcare in Nicaragua has greatly improved. However, rural, isolated communities still find it very hard to receive basic healthcare. And with close to half of Nicaraguans living in rural communities without this easy access to healthcare, there's a major need for outside help. So this is where Global Brigades comes in. They go into these communities with doctors, students from universities, and volunteers to bring health posts to these communities. They take care of a lot of needs that would otherwise be left untreated.
One of the main issues that Nicaragua is facing is the lack of funds and also accessibility to these communities. A lot of these communities don't have public roads that have access to them. So most of these people, they have to walk at least an hour or two just to reach like a health center or a health post. And a lot of times when they reach there, they won't have the medication that they actually need.
It's one thing to read books or read articles, it's another thing to be there. And when you're there, the whole picture, I mean, you see a lot more than you do when you just read something.
Bueno, mi familia trabaja sembrando maíz, frijol para alimento diario. Hay algunas dificultades porque nos toca viajar largo, por ejemplo, al centro de salud. Me queda 8 o 9 kilómetros. Caminando 3 horas.
Global Brigades always sends in a medical brigade to a community first to assess what they have and what they need. So this week, CSU focused on medical and public health.
University is nice to meet you, and the community, La Corneta, extend your hands and hugs for the public. And thank you so much, and God bless you.
When the volunteers, doctors, and leaders get to a community, they set up a health post with different stations. The first station is intake, where community members line up and give their basic information. The next station is triage, where volunteers take basic vital signs of the community members. They then are passed on to the actual consult with the doctor on brigade. This is where the doctor prescribes them with scripts for medication that will last them for the next 3 months. They then go to the pharmacy to actually receive these medications. Throughout the process, the volunteers conduct discussions with the community for education on health. For children, they focus more on dental and personal hygiene, and adults, they focus more on sensitive topics such as ways to prevent these chronic illnesses.
I think these medical delegations play another important role in the fact that they are bringing a lot of education about health to these rural communities. I mean, things as basic as washing your hands, about making sure you don't have water where mosquitoes are going to be breeding. All of these basic things that we here in the United States or developing countries kind of take for granted.
The work that we are doing in Nicaragua is very important because we have many diseases, for example, parasites, and we have many hypertension. The most important cause of the parasites are because the people, they don't have the access to the clean water. Our children, they don't use shoes. We can see in many houses that they don't have cement on the floor. They only have under the ground. So it's very important when we are in the brigade, we get many charlatans. They need to know how they are going to prevent this disease.
Nicaragua, while not the poorest country by any means in Central or Latin America, is a poor country. They are all very, very poor country. You walk into houses, and they're not houses like we know in Burlington, Vermont, or in the state of Vermont. They are shacks. They are plywood shacks, often with dirt floors. Okay, that's where people live.
Global Brigades always starts off with a medical brigade to identify the medical conditions of the community. And then they move on and work to prevent these diseases that they are seeing. Groups that volunteer for Global Brigades transition throughout different communities depending on which ones need help at the time. So after CSU went to La Corneta for the medical brigade, they then were sent to San Gabriel to work public health. In San Gabriel, they paired with 2 families in the community and built a concrete floor for one family and a sanitary station for the other family.
So in San Gabriel, we saw a lot of parasites and a lot of fungal infections in the community. So the concrete floors will help with the fungal infections, so people aren't sleeping on floors, kids aren't playing around in the dirt, and then the sanitary stations will help with the parasites and just overall general hygiene. One of my favorite parts about the Public Health Brigade is that we get to work hand in hand with members of the community. So we actually worked with family members who live in the homes that we helped, and then Masons who live in that community.
You are in my house, so feel good.
We require families to have a 10% buy-in to all of the projects to ensure that they really care about the projects that we're helping them create. And then the Masons that we hire, we train them on how to build all of these infrastructures, so if there's ever a break or a leak, they're able to fix it themselves, and they're also able to take that trade to other communities and get work that way. Part of Global Brigade's holistic model is to make sure that communities are completely sustainable before we phase out of that community. We send as many brigades into a community that as they need until they're completely self-sustainable, whether that is medical, public health, water, any of the 9 brigades that Global Brigades offers.
So we're hoping that this community will actually be one of our holistic communities here in Nicaragua, which is the program that we're implementing in these communities with all of our projects here in Nicaragua. So for example, the projects that we will eventually bring to this community of La Corneta is the medical brigades, which have been here, our water project, our public health projects, and also our business projects. So once we have all of these 5 projects implemented into the community, we can consider them a holistic community, and eventually once they are running on their own in a sustainable way, we can eventually transition out as an organization.
Seeing firsthand the impact that we make in these people's lives is just, it's unbeatable. Like there's no other feeling in the world than getting to empower these communities and working hand in hand with them to create better lives.
Le doy las gracias a los estudiantes por venir acá a nuestro país, porque nos han ayudado mucho, porque el trabajo que ellos hicieron nosotros no podíamos hacer. Y les agradezco mucho, porque ustedes pueden ver esa pieza que ellos
Fue un privilegio tenerlos en mi hogar. Espero se hayan sentido bien conmigo. Que tengan un feliz viaje.